button. Hello, hello. Welcome to For Book's Sake with Heather Roberts.
And Veronica Adams.
We are of 1852 Media, and we are here to talk about reader conventions, but from the reader perspective.
That's right.
Book signing events from the reader perspective.
Did our most recent episode on author expectations and things to know if you've never done a reader convention or signing event as an author. So now we're going to talk about things from the reader side.
Yes. And it's very fortuitous that I just went to one this weekend as a reader.
Did.
Yes. So I was doing on the ground research. And
in the streets to bring you the best information possible.
Yes, something like that.
The commitment, Heather, is just chef's kiss.
Thank you. And if you are listening to this because I told you about it at that event this past weekend, hello, and welcome. Yes. And hopefully, especially Cindy. Okay, there was an author there, Cindy, who told me before she even knew we had a podcast, she asked me if I did audiobooks because she loved my voice so much. And
oh my gosh.
I have to tell you that like legitimately made like my weekend. I'm
that
still
is
talking about it. Isn't that the nicest thing ever? I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And I was like, to that end, we have a podcast.
But maybe you should audition to take your audio talents into the audiobook recording world.
I don't know. That is a thing. That is a whole thing.
It is.
But I'm not opposed to it, but
no, narrators they're hard workers.
They're very hard.
It's a lot of talent.
And the biggest thing is you have to have a room that you can, the sound,
high audio quality
room. This room is fine for what we're doing, but not necessarily if somebody goes and starts playing music out there.
Right.
It's not soundproof that
much. Well, I mean, obviously I am not in a booth myself here, and
right
at any moment my microphone could pick up the dulcet tones of my washing machine running 2 doors down the hall. So
exactly.
Right. Keeping it real here. There's no fancy audio equipment for this podcast.
But yeah, we give all the credit in the world to audiobook narrators, that's for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, you totally made my my weekend with that compliment.
That is really sweet.
Isn't it? It was so nice. And you know what? The people that I met there this weekend were just really lovely on the whole. Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing about going to these events. Like, people are generally so nice. And you forget about that. I mean, I haven't been to a reader event since 2019 because of the pandemic. And then we moved twice. And, that just takes up life and money. Yeah. So this was my first opportunity to really get back out there someplace somewhat close, but...
Girl, I hear you. My drought is longer than yours because I was pregnant in 2019.
That's right.
I did not do anything that year. So my last event was November of 2018. It's been almost 5 years. I need to get back out there myself.
You do. You got to get back out there because you know what? It really did rejuvenate me. It made me feel so,
this is my community. These are my people.
Right. It was really fulfilling and really lovely, and people are so kind. I mean, the compliments from my hair to my eyes to my voice to people are just so nice. I'm like, oh my God, I could be around you people all day.
Right.
So
going to a Taylor Swift show. Nice girls only.
Yes. So readers, if you are afraid to go to these events, do not be afraid to go to these events.
They're amazing.
They're amazing. And 90% of the time, there's always a percentage where you can have a bad experience. That's life. That's life. But most of the time, people are just genuinely nice and kind and willing to help you out and want to meet you and talk about books and everything.
Well, and your favorite authors are there for a very specific reason, to meet you.
Yeah.
That's why they do it. They set aside time. I mean, they could be doing so many other things. Instead, they want to talk to you about their books. They want to hear what you like. They want to turn you into a new reader if you haven't tried them before, or they want you to come tell them how much you loved the last 18 books of theirs that you just completely devoured, I mean, whatever the case may be. So Yeah,
And
you definitely
it's
take a
great.
chance on getting out if you've never attended one before, because I don't think you'll regret it.
You really, I don't think you will either. And I went by myself. And
Yeah, that's super
I
important to the
mean,
narrative here. Like, you should
yes,
talk about that. You did not have a signing event buddy with you. You
I
were
did
just
not.
circulating like a solo woman.
I was. And listen, if you know me, I can be extroverted when prepared to be so. But
Yeah.
if like you know me personally, I am generally very comfortable being introverted. I could lock myself in a room for hours upon end, never talk to another soul, and come out refreshed and happy.
Like, for those people who don't know Heather really well on a personal level, you have to understand this woman's hobbies are all like solo activities.
Yes.
Okay. Like, the way she enjoys spending her free time is like in solitude. She'll
Yes.
be doing something,
Yes.
but she doesn't want to see you or talk to you, or
Correct.
like, you know, she
Hear
doesn't need
you.
the body doubling or anything like that even to get through the activity. She is in her craft room by herself doing what she wants to do.
Yes. If I can lock a door and close a door and just be by myself for hours upon end, that sounds like utter bliss to me. It's
Right.
just that's how
And
my brain
still
is
you
wired.
enjoyed yourself at a
And
book signing this weekend.
exactly, like it was chaotic. It was like lots of people and I still had a really good time. So, and I went by myself, which
Right.
threw a shit ton of anxiety upon me, but you know, you work through it, right? If you don't do something, if you're not scared to do something, then you're probably not doing the right thing. Like, you got to work through
I like that.
things.
Yeah. Do it scared.
Do it scared. And I knew that I would probably have a good time. So, I did know a couple of people at the event. I will caveat to say that.
Yes.
I knew a couple of authors who
Yes.
were attending, but the large majority I did not know. And I didn't know any readers that were going. I didn't really talk about the fact that I was going to the event before I went to the event because I wanted to surprise our authors that were attending.
Right. Right. We had a couple of 1852 clients at the event,
Yeah.
so you were there to support in addition to be a reader. So,
Yes. And there was a couple of people who had used us in the past
mhm.
who had done a la carte services with us and things like that. So I wanted to make a point to go say hello to them as
Sure.
well.
Yeah.
And so like I had known several authors, but they didn't know that I was going to be there. But
Right.
I knew no readers. And so, as a reader, when you go and you're standing in line, so this particular event, you got a free swag bag if you were part of the first XYZ number that came in.
Yeah.
And so there was a line. There was a line that wrapped around the hotel. So
Mhm.
readers, expect you will be standing in line, online, whatever you prefer to call it, for probably a bit when you go
Yeah.
to these events. This
Yeah.
was not one of those mega events. This
Right.
was, I would say, like a mid event, right? Wasn't a small, intimate signing by any stretch of the imagination, but like mid event.
Yeah.
So you're going to be standing in line for a period of time. So before the doors opened, we were standing out there, and I got down there a little before noon because I wasn't like rushing to be one of the first
Yeah.
in. But if you do have authors that you absolutely want to see at these mid events, I'll call them, you usually should be able to see them within the window of time.
Yeah.
Like there weren't any wristbands being handed out at this type of
Right.
event or anything like
Right.
that.
You're not gonna run
So,
into a situation where there's just not enough time to get you and everyone else through to see the authors that you wanna
right.
see.
But it's probably, if that's like your peak thing, you should probably go do that first. Just in
Oh,
case.
yeah,
Just in
absolutely.
case.
If this is not a small event, an intimate gathering of, I couldn't even begin to put a number on it because I've been to some events that are super, super intimate. But
Hmm.
if it's a mid event like you're describing it, you should definitely prioritize seeing the authors you want to see at the beginning of your visit to the event. Otherwise, you may still run out of time, even if there isn't a gatekeeping
Correct.
function
Right.
on your ability to see those authors.
Absolutely. So go
Yeah.
and see those people first.
Yep.
If you have books that you want them to sign, I highly recommend getting some type of cart so that you're not carrying them.
The wheeled book bag is my favorite.
Excuse me. Yes. There was
I
a
also love the people who stack like the milk crates. like,
Yeah. And Sack
hmm
goes up on like a dolly thingy.
yeah.
There was somebody, a couple, in line in front of me who
hmm
had one like a book cart that was
Yeah.
stuffed full, and there was people directly in front of me, and they were like, "Oh my god, she's so prepared! Like we came totally unprepared." And I was like, "Don't worry, there's books inside. You can buy them there
hmm
too." And they were like, "I know, but like, holy shit! Hey, that girl was prepared.
Yeah.
More power to her." And she brought somebody with her, a spouse, friend, somebody, to then handle that, I'm assuming, after she
Right.
got it all signed,
Right.
which was
Right.
smart.
It's efficient. So you're not taking
Yes,
up extra time organizing your stuff after you have your encounter with the authors you're there to see.
exactly.
Keep those
So,
lines moving.
and remember, so this signing had authors in 2 rooms
hmm
and in like a hallway that connected the 2 rooms.
Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to sort of like go around there, and go into each room whenever you wanted, and like go, talk to the authors. My strategy was everybody, when they first go into a signing, is going to stop at, just by like human nature, stop at tables that are right there,
Yeah.
right? Like right in front. I did not want to do that because that's where everybody was. So I went to the back of the room. I picked one of the rooms and I was like, let me start in the back and I'll work my way up and
Yeah.
meet people that way. So, whatever your goals are with the event as a reader going into it, have a strategy. Think about things like that, because just know people are going to get clogged up at the front. If you are somebody that does not like crowds and doesn't want to be as part of that mob mass, remove yourself from it. It's okay.
Yes.
You can come back to them. You have to pass them to leave anyway. So, you know, think about things like that. Other major tips I would give: wear comfortable shoes.
Oh my gosh. That's like, I take that for granted.
Yes.
Because I'm an old lady now, I live in comfortable shoes. I don't own a pair of shoes that isn't comfortable. That's
Yes.
that's where I'm at in life. But yes, if you are trendy and fashionable, make sure that you are absolutely wearing comfortable
Yes.
shoes.
Wear comfortable shoes. You will be
You're
on
going
your
to stand a
feet
lot. You're going to walk around
for,
a lot.
yeah, 4 or 5 hours, something to that
There,
effect.
typically within the event space itself, there are few, if any, places for you to rest. You're
Correct.
expected to be circulating from author table or author booth to author booth. And if you need to take a break, typically you have to leave the conference area of the hotel or the event space in the, I don't know, municipal community center or whatever, wherever the event's taking place, and go back out to like a lobby or a reception in order to find some
Yes.
place to rest. So while you're interacting with those authors, there are going to be very limited opportunities for you to get off your feet. So you definitely want to be comfortable.
Yes. Wear comfortable shoes. I also would highly recommend packing a snack bag, packing some snacks.
Oh my gosh.
So here's what happened this weekend.
Yeah, I'm laughing because Heather has already given me the rundown on her snacking issues this weekend. So like, and it didn't occur to me that she was going to bring this up and talk about it, but like,
I feel like it's important. Okay, it
no,
is
it
important.
totally is. You definitely need to cover this particular point. I just am finding much humor in the whole thing.
Oh, it's funny
So
now. So
this,
I
what Heather did this weekend is like, it's a test case,
yes,
textbook, what not to do when it comes
and
to
here's
eating before, during, around a signing event.
and what's ridiculous is I know better. I know better, and
I know.
and this
We
still
used to be old pros at this.
I know. So I made the terrible assumption that there was going to be some type of food at the hotel that I could
Mhm.
purchase
Yeah.
before the event, during the event, something like that.
Because why wouldn't there be?
Right. Wow.
Hmm.
So I drove in that morning to give everybody some global perspective.
And it was not a short trip for you.
No, it was 4.5 hours. So I stopped at a gas station, filled up on gas, grabbed a little gas station breakfast sandwich, was, its own mistake. Did that, got on the road, got down to the hotel. I called ahead. This is actually good advice. So if you're going to get to a hotel early that you're
Yeah.
staying at that night, and for example, I wanted to prep a little bit for the event. Like I didn't when I got up and left at 5:45 in the morning. I was not doing a full face of makeup and doing my hair, things that
Right.
weren't happening for
Right.
1,000. And then
Right.
driving for 4.5 hours so that it all melts off and,
Oh God,
whatever.
no. No, 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 no.
Yeah. So when I got about an hour away from the hotel, I called the hotel and asked if I could get an early check in. Most of the time, hotels will accommodate you. So they were able to accommodate me this time, which was lovely. So when I arrived at the hotel at 11, they were able to check me right into a room. I was able to go up, do my hair, do my makeup, do all that. Sort of like
Right.
rest for a moment after that long
Sure.
car drive,
Yeah.
because the signing started at noon. So I should have been sourcing food at that particular moment, but I didn't because anyway. So I had nothing else to eat. And I went down and I was like thinking about food at that point. And I looked at the restaurant that was in the hotel and they weren't serving food yet. They were not yet open.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, Boise. And so I'm like looking around. There's like no like little snack areas that you could like purchase food or
Not
anything
even a
like that.
vending machine.
No, I did not see a vending machine. If it was in existence, I did not find it. So I was like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna suck it up. So I went into the signing
Hangry.
hangry with no additional food. I lived off of Starburst, Jolly Ranchers, what are those little fun-sized candy bars, and one
This is
in
all stuff that the authors have on their
yes,
table.
yes,
Like you're living off of the junk food being
yes,
provided at each take at you visit an author, you're like, hey, oh my gosh, tell me about your books. I would love to know more. And also, I'm starving. Can I steal your free candy to keep me alive so that
basically,
I don't actually go rogue and
yeah.
like
I don't
Hulk
fall
smash the next
over.
author?
I don't collapse out of sheer
Right.
exhaustion. Oh my god, the one incredibly lovely author gave me a kind bar
Yeah.
because we were discussing the lack of food options available.
And what did she tell you? She had eaten a really big breakfast,
Well, they
right?
had the convention itself had an amazing breakfast for the authors.
Well, that's wonderful. So they
Yes.
knew her and everyone else very well before the start of the
Yeah,
event.
so authors were fine. They were good to go and like as they should be. Like that is
Sure,
what
sure.
they should provide. I just also generally assumed that the hotel would have something available
That
for
the restaurant would be open.
yeah, which it wasn't. So check beforehand. And just even if you don't check beforehand, just put some snacks in your bag. Put
Oh my gosh,
something of
yes.
substance. Make yourself a
Yeah.
sandwich. I would had
Whatever
I
your
known.
choice, like a meal replacement bar, a shelf stable protein drink, like whatever is that your go to snacking is. Like
Yeah.
take a few of those with you because you may end up in Heather's situation.
And you don't want to be in that situation because at like 4:50 the or 3:50 because the signing was over at 4.
Right.
It was from noon to 4. I went to go sit down because I was like, I am dead on my feet. And I was like, I need some food, like, because I could feel
Yeah.
how drained I was
Yeah.
from some food. And at that point, the restaurant was open, so I was able to go and
Yay!
snag a burger and some fries, which perked me up
Oh yeah,
substantially,
for sure.
substantially.
And
But
even if it wasn't a great burger, it was probably one of the best ones you've ever had. Just,
frankly, it was delicious.
from fatigue. Right.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if it was actually delicious, but yeah, like it was
It was in this moment delicious.
correct. Food, big deal. Water, also a big
Yes.
deal. This
Yes.
signing did have water stations. Use those. Like
Mhm.
I didn't take advantage of those until like
Yeah.
towards the end.
Yeah.
But you should take
Mhm.
advantage of those. I had a water bottle. I did not want to carry it around with me because
Right.
it's a big thing.
They're bulky.
They're bulky. So if you don't want to, carry something
Mhm.
like that around, you know, utilize the water stations.
Right.
Most conventions, most book signings have water stations because
Yeah.
they do not want people passing out on them. And
Now, if you
yeah,
were going to bring a book bag of some kind, you can always stash your water bottles in
yes.
something like that for sure.
So yeah, bring water, at least maybe a small thing of water just to have, but utilize the water stations. Those are huge because it is a lot when you're walking around and talking and getting excited, and the room sometimes gets very warm
Oh gosh,
when
all
you
those
have
people.
all those people in there. So, understand that these are the conditions that you're going to be in and plan accordingly. I had just somewhat forgotten about the food one somehow throughout all of this. Everything else I had everything else. Just forgotten about
Uh,
food.
you know how when you don't do something for a long time and then you go to do it for the first time, sometimes you're a little rusty?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was
You had a
like,
great time, but also as a reader, you were a little bit
I
rusty.
was a little rusty as a reader. Yeah, I've been on the other side many, many times
Hmm.
and just had forgotten one key element.
Yeah.
So bring food. bring something in your purse or your bag or your book bag or whatever you're
Yeah.
carrying with you. What other advice can I give you? It is going to get very hot. There was another room, like I was saying, there was multiple rooms in this particular event, and the other room was much cooler because there weren't as many people in it. Because people generally like go in different. So
Right.
go walk around, find out where you're most comfortable if you need a break and you need to like cool down for a little bit because I ended up going to this other room and the people in the room were like, yeah, people have been coming in waves, which is not surprising because a lot of times people group up together at these types of events.
Sure. Sure.
So it's just like me and like the 10 or 12 authors in there. And I was like, great, let's have a conversation, let's chat. Also, while I sit in here in this glorious, blissfully air-conditioned room that is feels amazing. But it was great, because it was also, a time I got to talk to a bunch of authors, who I had not met before. So that was also wonderful. So, yeah, and, just try to think about, things like that. You don't have to be doing what everybody else
Mhm.
is doing. You can sort of carve your own pathway
Yes. Yes.
and make your own way.
Waiting lines and stuff can be dynamic. Sometimes a line for a certain author is too long, or there's no line at all because everybody is in the restroom, right? Like
Yeah.
the restroom or the break room or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we first walked in, there was a mystery book giveaway that the event was running.
Which, by the way, super, super cool, I
Yeah,
think.
I
Like,
loved that idea. Loved it. And you could win a mystery book,
yeah,
which from one of the attending authors. Love that. Okay,
not a mystery novel, but a book that's title and author is unknown to you at the time you win it.
right. Yeah, they were all wrapped in brown paper bags and they just had
Right.
like what was like the tropes, basically genre, that sort of thing on the front. Love it. It's like blind date with books sort of idea. And you could win one. And so everybody was like literally lined up as soon as they went through registration to go and try to get their mystery book. And I was just like, "Oh, I'll come back to that later. I don't
Yeah.
know to go stand in another line." And I did end up coming back to it later when nobody was there, and I
Hmm.
got to go through it just as much as everybody else did, just
Hmm.
without the long line. So you just because there's a line for something right then doesn't mean it's going
Yeah.
to be a line always.
Right.
So manage your time appropriately. If there's something you absolutely want to do, go do that first, and then come back
Yeah.
and do all the rest of the
Absolutely.
fun things.
So, if you've never attended an event like this before as a reader, what do you say to the authors you want to meet? How do what do you do?
Well, a lot of times you just walk up to their table and say, "Hi, how are you?" I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's just a hello, and they are there because they want to talk to you. They
Right.
don't want to sit at a table and not have anybody speak to them.
Right.
So just walk up to them and say hello. I mean,
Right.
they will. respond with something. I promise. They're not
Oh
going
yeah,
to
no,
ignore you.
yeah, you don't have to worry about the authors not keeping up their end of the bargain. I mean, you
Right.
introduce yourself and say, I've been looking forward to meeting you, or I loved XYZ book that you wrote,
Yeah,
like
like I loved this book and it was
start a whole
amazing.
conversation just by going that far.
And if you are an outgoing reader, if you are an
Yes.
extroverted reader who happens to be familiar with the author's work that is in front of you, and you're chatting with the author and you see somebody coming up to their table who maybe is looking a little more timid, feel
Mhm.
free to be their hype person.
Yeah.
Like I was standing at one of our clients' tables who does honestly she doesn't need a hype gal. She's her own hype squad. But Janine, this one's for you. Janine Bosco.
Oh.
And but somebody was coming up to the table and I was just like, "Do you know Janine? Like have you read her books?" Do the break, the icebreaker if that's something that you are comfortable with because it does break the tension. It breaks that, initial thing and then they have something to respond to. So,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's fun. It makes it an enjoyable
Mhm.
thing. Then you force the author to do some work. Not just kidding,
Yes.
Janine.
Practice their marketing skills.
Yes. But I was surprised. So last episode we talked a lot about authors, what questions should they be expecting, from
Right.
readers.
Right.
And so I really sort of, put that to work. And I would go up to authors' tables and ask them, what type, tell me about your books is one of the things
Yes.
that I would say. If I was totally unfamiliar, be
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
hi, I'm Heather with 1852 Media. Sometimes I'd start with that, sometimes I wouldn't. But I would always usually say,
Tell me
tell
about
me
your
about your
books.
books because I want to know. And then they would either launch into what their books are about, or sometimes they would come back to me with a question of, well, what tropes are you into? Or what are you into? And that great question because they
Mhm.
want to direct me to the book that I'm most going to resonate
Right.
with.
Right.
And so be prepared as a reader to know to know what your own interests are because a lot of times authors are going to ask you, what is your favorite tropes, what
Yes.
kind of books do you like to read, do you like
Especially when you're meeting a new to you author. If you're
yes,
completely unfamiliar with this person's work, the conversation's definitely going to be a little bit of give and take. And instead of getting the full spiel, especially from a mid list or an upper list author who has a significant backlist, there could be a wide variety of genre, subgenre, trope, etc. They want to cut to the chase and give you something that represents their work well, that they think you will connect with based on your own preferences, rather
yeah,
than just selling you 20 or 40 or 100 books.
exactly.
You know,
What
they'll
kind of
count
books
on
do
you
you
to
like
come
to
back and
read?
read more after you've read something that you really like,
Yes. So, what kind of books do you like to read? Is a lot of
Yes.
what I got asked that many
Mhm.
times, which great,
Mhm.
it's fantastic. And a lot of times, authors have branded themselves so well at their table that you can tell. I mean, you can tell what they write. So there was an
Visuals are
author,
spot on, and you just know what you're getting as soon as you approach the author.
exactly. Like there was an author's table. I knew exactly. She wrote some super dark romances.
Okay.
And I could tell by the covers, by the table design, it was very apparent what she wrote. And she
Black,
was,
red,
yes,
sexy,
black, red, the,
leather lace satin, maybe
mhm,
some BDSM or kink kind of elements. Like,
yes,
I don't, something that looks sort of super dangerous and
edgy,
threatening. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And then she was right next to an author who wrote like contemporary romance, small town, like she said like steam level like 1, like spice level 1, and it
Clear,
was great.
clear blue skies, lots of
Yeah.
pink sunlight, like a little small town in the background of her banner or something. Like,
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Light aesthetic, and so it was literally like light and dark right next to one another, and it was great because I was like, they were joking that they could tell the people that would come like and do a buzz line to one table or the other, and then like look at
yeah.
the other table and be like, and like move
Yeah,
on.
not for me.
Not for me. She's like, occasionally you get the person who like wants both.
Give me all
Yeah.
of it, like
Yeah.
bring it on.
Occasionally you would get that person, but usually it was like one or the other. And
Right, right. Well, that's pretty common though, I think among the majority of readers. Like if
yeah.
you connect with a, darker type of novel, you may not necessarily want a lighter of any variety, small town or otherwise, rom-com. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of stuff that's nice and light. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. She was saying, the contemporary author was saying that she was speaking with somebody who does like both,
Uh-huh.
who was telling her that she likes to read the lighter stuff as like sort of a palate cleanser, if you
Yes.
will, in between the dark
Mhm.
books. And
Mhm.
I can totally see that, because she was saying that like people read her because they feel it's like a safe, it's a safe read. It's a very comforting. They know nothing crazy is going to happen.
Right.
They're going to fall in love. It's going to be great. It's, like
Like
no jump
every book is a
scares.
new experience, right? Because every author puts their own creative twist on the same tropes that we all know and love. So like I mean this in no way disrespectfully, but like it's like comfort watching an old beloved television show, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
sometimes you just need something that you know is going to be safe and familiar, even if you've forgotten the details or you don't know them yet because the author is new to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was really fun, and just seeing the dichotomy there, or
Mhm.
the juxtaposition,
Well,
really, of them
so
next to each
this
other.
begs the question though, if you saw these absolutely stellar examples of visual branding and marketing,
Hmm.
did you run into any that weren't so great, or any authors who like as you were getting to know them and talking to them, you realized that maybe their branding wasn't as clear in terms of like what kind of books they write?
Yeah, I think it's hardest when an author writes a lot of different kinds of books,
Multiple genres or
multiple
subgenres?
genres and subgenres. If you are writing across multiple subgenres,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking tropes, I'm talking like paranormal, monster, light contemporary romance, thriller, like literally just completely
Right.
different
Right.
genres, and you have just like one book from each of those, because I don't that makes it very hard to, make a cohesive brand
Right.
and to gain
Right.
readers that way. It becomes very challenging in that
Yeah.
regard. So yeah, I
Erotic
mean,
historical westerns and I don't know, gay rom-coms. Like
yeah. Yeah. Like when they're so different from one another, you can struggle to gain a cohesive branding, because just like how those two authors, that they were there and saying that one person's going here and one person's going there,
right.
when you have a little bit of everything, theoretically, it sounds like you should be able to get everybody at your
Right.
table,
You should
right?
be seeing a lot of traffic.
It
Yeah.
sounds like that, but unfortunately, that's not usually what ends up happening. What ends up happening is people get confused, and then it's just, or they'll just read the one thing. They won't read anything else from you, because
Right.
that's not their jam. The rest of it is, something outside of their wheelhouse. But yeah, so that would be the only thing. Sometimes it's just not cohesive. Um, but I saw, speaking of author tables, I saw some glorious author tables that I thought were branded so well. I mean, there was one person who wrote a bunch of, like, all of them were by the sea, like by the water, and the whole table was decked out in like the fish netting, like
Oh
the
yeah.
net,
It's very
and there was
nautical.
very nautical, the whole thing, and you felt like when you were at their table, you're like, I get it, I get the vibe, like the whole vibe.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to ask what the books were about, like I knew.
I'll take 3 copies and a taxi to the beach, please.
Right, like
Yeah.
you got the whole feel
Yeah.
right there, which was great. And like I said in the last podcast, there were some authors there who had games that you could play to win things. And yeah, so just go expecting to have a fun time. You're going to talk a lot, a lot. So get some throat lozenges.
Yeah. For sure. Now, let me ask you some logistical questions. So,
Yes.
like, uh, thinking about this as someone who loves reading and has never attended an event for however long you've been reading, whether it's lifelong or like something that you've revived as a result of the pandemic or whatever. Is it expensive to be a reader at these book events?
It can be.
Okay.
It
What
can
are we
be.
talking? Well, I mean,
So,
like let's cut brass tacks. Like you have to pay an admission fee
yes,
typically. There's a ticket
yes.
cost just to get in.
This particular event, I mean, I'll give it a shout out. This was Romanticon in Connecticut, and I believe it's always held in Connecticut. And Kitty Berry runs this particular event and does a phenomenal job organizing it.
Yes. That's the
So,
CONN in Romanticon is Connecticut, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That's cute.
Romanticon. That was very cute. And the event was wonderful, wonderfully organized. Pros, they are pros. My food issues were my problem. It was not the
Yeah.
event's
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah. No
Like,
reflection on the event
no,
organization
no, that
whatsoever.
was my problem. So it was otherwise very lovely. So yeah, so that was $25. I think it ended up being like $28 with tax, something like that.
Right. Right.
I then got a hotel room for the evening because
You drove 4.5 hours from your house to attend
I
it.
was not going back the same day. I guess I could have, but that would not have been smart. So, and also, like, you want some decompression time. So I got a hotel room that evening. So there's the hotel cost. And then if you want to, you're going to have to pay for your own food, right? All of that. So there's that cost. And then gas to get there, you know? And then when you're there are so many opportunities to spend money. You're going to have to either create yourself a budget or understand what your budget is because it is very easy to spend a lot of money at these events. Every author has books for sale, right? That's the whole point. So a lot of them have bundles too that, you can purchase XY, multiples for
Yep.
a
Yep.
certain price. A lot of them, I'd say, I did not run across a table that I can recall. Maybe there was one there that did not accept credit cards, which is wonderful. Sometimes
That's
back
amazing.
in the day, it was very
I mean, that's why I brought it
infrequent.
up because I was like, so how much cash do I need to be walking around with on the
Right.
day of the event?
Very, very
Mhm.
wonderful that you can
Yeah,
now like
that you don't have to go hit the ATM before you
yes.
go inside.
There was an ATM there though, so in case you did want to just use cash, you could do that. Sometimes authors will give a discount if you are using cash because of
Sure.
the convenience
It's
fees
easier for
for.
them.
hmm
Mhm.
So there's that. But yeah, I mean, there's bookmarks for sale. Like, really, I saw some gorgeous, gorgeous bookmarks. They were like intricate and just really metal, very, very pretty. Book sleeves, tons of book sleeves for sale, tons of like book merch. There's different vendors there that are book adjacent and have their own merch. Authors have their own merch. So, plus the books. If you
Endless ways to part with your
Endless
money.
ways to part with your money. And there was, I think, 111 signing authors at this particular event.
Okay.
I could be
It's a good
wrong.
mid-size event.
Yeah, it was a very good event, like sign, like author wise. I could have that number wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was like at least 100. Someone told me
Okay.
111, so that's what stuck in my
2
mind.
rooms plus a
But
hallway tells me that there was at least
yeah,
70 to 80, if not a full 100 or more.
right. And maybe some people had to cancel or something. I don't
Right,
know.
right, 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 right.
But around 100 authors, we'll say that.
Mhm.
And you could easily spend a lot of money, even if you only connected with 25 of those authors or 20 of those,
Sure,
like
sure.
very easily could
Well,
have
I
parted
mean,
with a lot of
what's
money.
what's the standard flat fee for a paperback these days? 10 to $20,
Yeah.
depending on the size and, where you have them printed, etcetera. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I bought a couple myself and,
Mhm.
you know, $15, $12,
Mhm.
$7. I mean, there were some that were a little cheaper, but they were smaller, right?
Right,
Like,
exactly. They don't
so
cost as much to print, so the shorter the
correct.
story, the cheaper the paperback can be.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
otherwise, you do get, like, I got one of the swag bags. and
Mm-hmm.
there were 2 books in there.
Awesome.
I got then one of the free mystery books that they
Yes.
were giving
From the
away.
giveaway. Right, right.
So I had already 3 books at that point?
Swag and 3 free book. Well, not free. You paid to attend to the event, but with your
Sure,
admission,
with my
with the
mission.
cost of admission, you've got access to over 100 authors plus 3 free
Yeah.
books and swag.
And tons of authors had not like additional promotions, right? But also then had like free novellas with
Yeah.
you could scan a QR code and
Go
get
download this free
access.
book from me. Yeah.
Yeah, and access a free book right there.
Give me your email address and you can have a free book.
Yep. So if you just want to go around and collect books, you could have probably walked away without spending any more than the admission price. I don't know, maybe 20 books, like hard physical books plus novellas, novels,
Yeah. Right,
whatever,
right, right, right.
just by parting with your email address, really. I
Make a
mean,
deal.
that's not bad. And you get to go meet them all and have a really good time and
And
all
you're
of
probably
that.
going to get free swag at their tables too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tons of stickers. Stickers were huge swag. Tons of stickers.
Stickers are in right now.
Yeah. Lots of stickers. I was telling Veronica before this started about all the swag that I acquired. Some of my
Heather's a
favorites.
maker and she's like obsessed with the swag people use because she's always trying to create her own.
Yes. I'm like, oh, let's go through this swag. Let's see
Yeah,
what
what can
ideas
I
I
make?
get.
Uh-huh.
I will tell you my favorite swag item, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean, you know what it is,
Yeah.
Veronica.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
my absolute favorite swag item was a plastic straw.
It doesn't get less funny when you say it
I
for the
know.
second time.
I know. I know. But literally my absolute favorite swag item was a
Well,
plastic
so
straw.
this begs the question, are you living in a place where straws are hard to come by now due to the
Yes.
climate change issues that we're experiencing on this planet and the political movement in your area?
Yeah, so occasionally we will go to a restaurant and there will be a plastic straw. Like sometimes if you go to McDonald's, they have plastic
Yeah.
straws still. But a lot of the times it's the paper straws. And listen, I'm
Yeah.
all for the environment. I truly am, but I
Yeah.
absolutely loathe paper straws.
Listen, I am a baby of the 80s and 90s. I still cut the plastic rings off of my 6 packs because I don't want turtles dying in the ocean, even though
Yes.
all of my waste is going to a landfill in flyover country and is not getting anywhere near sea turtles. But yeah, I sympathize with that sentiment. A
I'm
paper
just,
straw, I
oh,
get it, but they're still horrible. Like we need to work on improving the design.
correct. 100%. So
A
this is
plastic swag straw.
a reusable straw.
Huge. That's a
Huge.
really clever swag idea.
Truly loved it. I mean, for a
Yeah.
chef's kiss there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will use that. I 100% will use that. I also love there were some very cute coasters. Loved those. Love a coaster.
Heather's all about the practical things, y'all. If she
Yes,
can't use it, she probably doesn't want
correct. If it has no utility for me, then I won't use it. So
it.
love that. So basically all the utility style items.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
yeah.
somebody who did post-its. Much appreciated that. Who can't
That's
use more
cute. Like with their
post-its?
logo on it or something.
Yeah, it was like a little book that had their logo on the front. You open it up and they were like little post-it tabs. Love
Cute.
that. Love that. What else? With tons of pens.
Of course.
And I have a whole collection now.
Love a good pen.
Love a good pen.
Gotta be a good pen though.
Yeah. Yeah. Only
I've gotten
one
some not so great
chapstick.
ones.
One chapstick. Which fine. I got one chapstick. That's great. It went in my
Oh
chapstick
yeah, my
bag.
chapstick.
I literally have a bag that I put all the chapstick that I've collected over the years and just grab them out whenever I need them. And
Yeah, I threw mine away when I moved.
did you? Okay. Well,
They were no longer. They never served me in the first place because most of them were. I mean,
sometimes chapstick's not
entry
good.
level chapsticks,
Yes.
very cheap.
Yes.
So
You need to make sure it's a decent chapstick. But yeah, love the coasters, love all of the utility style things. Several pins. several pins, which I liked. Someone gave me a pin because they liked my hair, and they had a pin that had something. One of the characters in their book also had like fun fantasy color hair. So she's like, "You need this pin," and I was like, "Yes, please." So I put it
That's
on
like
my
my
bag.
favorite thing about the community too, is how creative you can be with your self-expression physically, and
Yeah.
how welcoming everybody is, no matter what.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And yeah, there's just it was just so it was really nice. Everybody's just so kind. Like they really were. They were really kind. And I had a
The
great
book world is the
experience.
best world.
It is. I've seen a lot of people talk about like the Taylor Swift concerts and how like the Swifties are so nice. And I really felt like that. There's definitely a
That
crossover
energy
there. That
exists in
energy,
that community too.
it does. It does. And for all the bad that you hear about with all the
Mhm.
drama in the book world,
There
yes,
is plenty of it.
there's plenty of it, but there's also really good people too. Really good people. So I overall had a great time as a reader and just attending and walking around and meeting people that I had never met before. So
Yay.
it was good.
Now you
Definitely
have
good.
new friends.
Yes, absolutely. New people that I can, reach out
Wave at
to
a
and
next
wave.
event.
Yeah. So it was wonderful. So highly recommend if you have an opportunity to go, I would go. And you do not have to go to, like I was saying, like, yes, those mega events, they are wonderful too. Usually, you can tell the difference because usually with like a mega event, they have multiple days of things
Right, right.
going
You're gonna
on.
have an intro party and the signing day, or 2 or 3 days of signing, depending on how big the event is, and after parties and side
Panels
quests and panels, and yeah, exactly.
and so yeah, those are conventions. These are more like conferences, if you
Yeah,
will, to call them something different.
you spend a day
Yes.
at most. I don't know, 6 or 7 hours is probably the longest single day event I've ever been to. 6 hours
Yeah.
maybe, which is a long day.
It's still a long day, and I was exhausted at the end of this. I'm like, "Oh my god, if I'm going to one of those
4
mega
hours is a
events, I'm
lot.
gonna I'm gonna have to do something to perk
Yeah,
myself up."
exactly.
I did, just to throw it out there as well. I mean, we're in the post-COVID era, right?
Mhm.
As soon as the event was over, I went back to my room and I washed the shit out of my hands before I touched anything else or my face or ate my food or anything. That's something very important. I also took Zicam. I did the pre-cold stuff as a precaution. Took some
Mhm.
extra vitamin D, or I'm sorry, vitamin C, and then the next day tried to get some orange juice. On Sunday I had orange juice first thing. Popped some more vitamin C. Just
Really
try
supporting
to,
that immune
yeah,
system.
really try to support your immune system before, during, and after this event, because if you don't, the likelihood of catching something is higher. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And when you're
And
going and meeting people, try not, I tried not to breathe directly into people's faces or have
right,
them breathe
right.
directly into mine.
Use good public health contact, common sense, and also, stick to your own boundaries about what you're comfortable with
Yeah,
in this post-COVID world of ours. You want to be right up against people in line, or do you want to hang back and wait until the lines start to thin out before you circulate more? Like,
right.
whatever you're comfortable with.
It's whatever
Were
you're comfortable with.
Was anybody masking?
I did not see anybody masking, no.
Okay.
I considered
I wouldn't
masking.
be surprised, and I also would think that that would still be welcome for the people who are higher risk.
Yeah. I did consider masking, but I was like, well, let me see if I can, I
Yeah.
tried to do some like little separation, right? And
Mhm.
not to be like, it wasn't rude separation. It was just like we don't need to be smashed up against one
Yeah, I don't
another,
need to get into your face to talk about your books with you.
Right, exactly. Have a little personal boundary bubble. And I think it's just smart, these events are there's something going around somewhere at some, at these
Always,
events. So
always.
if you can do anything to try to minimize getting sick after them, you'll probably enjoy the events more because you won't get sick when you get home.
Right.
So yeah, I did. Those are my little tips and tricks about how to avoid that, because after every one of these conventions, I hear people coming home, and not just with COVID, but with other things like getting the flu, getting a nasty sinus
Colds,
infection,
yeah,
a cold, or
right.
whatever. And then it puts you down for a week or whatever. And it's just no fun. So,
Anything you can do to cut that off at the pass.
yes, take care of yourself. Try to hydrate
Yeah.
and take some
Listen to
extra
water
vitamins.
stations.
Yes, use those water stations and take some
Well,
extra
this is
vitamins.
good. I think if I had never been to one before, I'd be prepared to give it a shot. I think the
Yeah.
only question is, how do I find an event near me?
Well, you can do the hard work of Googling your little heart out, or you can go to our website at 1852media.com/events, and we do have a list.
We've made it easy for you.
We
It's not
have,
comprehensive. We
no.
don't claim to have every single event in existence.
And if there is an event that you know about or that you run that you want to be represented on that list,
Please let us know.
please let us know. Yes, shoot us an
Yes.
email. We want to
We'd love to
know.
put your event on the list.
We also need to clean it up a little bit. We've had it from, 2023 to 2024. We are now midway through 2023. We need to go back and update the ones from the earlier, the beginning of the
The
year.
first half of the year. Right.
Yes, because we're not doing it in real time. Sorry, but we will continue to update it as things become available. But
And
yeah,
some of the links that we provide are, I mean, they still go to like a landing site for the event. So even
correct.
though the event may have already happened for 2023, if you follow the hyperlink, it may take you to a landing page where you can get information on the 2024 version of the event if that's taking place.
Exactly. And the biggest thing that I did with this list that I thought was very important was break it up by region. So like you can sort by region, you can sort by state, in alphabetical order and things like that. Because a lot of times people want to go to these events but don't, want to travel too far or anything. So yeah,
4.5 hours one way by yourself in the car is kind of like intimidating.
it's a trip. I hadn't done that by myself probably since law school.
That's probably true.
I mean, yeah. I don't think I've I've traveled 4.5 hours away by myself since law school. So it's been a minute. And I no doubt obviously that I could do it because I've done these things in the past, but my goodness, was it boring. It really it really was. It's very boring. You get about halfway through and you're like, oh shit, I got another halfway to
Yeah,
go. Like,
right.
oh man.
215 down, 215 to go. Oh,
Like that was
yeah.
torture. This is I gotta go another 2.5 hours. But I'm spoiled because I don't commute anymore every day. Like I used to commute an hour and a half to work every day. So a 4 hour
Now
trip
you
is
commute
like,
up the stairs and it's
yeah,
like, that's enough.
yeah. So like when I was commuting an hour and a half to work each way every day, oh, I guess I should
More
say
conditioned.
it wasn't since law school. It's been since I was practicing law and I was traveling all over the state to go to different courthouses. That's the last time I did long treks by myself. But yeah, I haven't done it since then, and I forgot how boring it was. But I now remember. So if you have a buddy that you can coerce to go
A
with
book
you,
buddy. Yeah.
it's ideal.
Take them with you.
Yes.
Or find an event that's not 4.5 hours away.
That's true too. Yeah, a lot of people just, they were in the same town, similar, like an hour away, 2 hours away. And this was like, I guess, an hour or so from New York. So that's not far.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people from New York that came up.
Transportation infrastructure is a lot different around the city than it is in various parts of the country. So, like, you live close to New York, you can take the train or trains probably relatively easily. So,
And I know a lot of people, like not, I don't know a lot, but I know some authors went down to New York after the event to have a little trip to New York City. So that was, I'm sure very fun and convenient as well.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about our
Nice.
evergreen marketing tip.
Yeah, you got an evergreen marketing tip for us this week? God, we have
Yes,
talked and talked and talked
I know.
today.
Today was a long one.
I know.
So, evergreen marketing tip of this week is know your brand. And know your brand meaning know what you're putting out into the world. Like we were talking about earlier, I would be able to walk up to the table and know exactly what that author is selling before they even said a word out of their mouth. That's amazing. That should be how it is. You should be able to identify to somebody with a trained eye what you're selling. So know your brand and lean into that brand
Set
and
those reader
set the
expectations
yes.
from the very top down with the visuals and everything.
Yeah, know your brand and have fun with it. Don't be afraid to be creative with it. Be a little cringy. It's only cringy until, people get on it and then everybody starts mimicking your cringe and you're like, "Oh wow, I'm a trendsetter." So, it's fine. Just, know your brand, know what you're selling and lean into that as much as possible. And that could,
Great tip.
yeah, go into visuals and what you're putting out there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome, awesome. Well, check out our events list, right?
Yes.
Check out our
Yes.
events list, find an event for you, and we absolutely will see you next
And
time.
yes, and don't forget event organizers. If you're not on our list, send us an email.
Yes, please. We want to know about your event. All right, we'll talk to you soon. This is For Book's Sake.